It's really nice to have you here on The Creative Life. I'm really pleased you've chosen this course. Creativity, allowing life to flow through us, bringing the formless into the world of form. All of these things I've always had a curiosity about. Like, how do we get into action? How do we allow that to be easy? How do we allow that to be effortless? And so when I was thinking that I'd really love to explore this topic with you, Barb Patterson came to mind as absolutely the perfect teacher for us to do this together. So if you haven't met Barb, she works with a lot of business owners and leaders in the work that she does primarily. And that's, historically, her professional background has been in that area. And since coming across the principles many years ago, she's just the most wonderful teacher. She was one of my very first mentors. She was like my soul sister. She has, we've taught together, we've spoken together, we've coached together on and off for years and years and years. So it's an absolute delight to be able to bring you here and spend the next month with you and Barb together as we go exploring. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to the training.
So here we are, Barb and I, opposite sides of the world, hanging out online, like we're all doing at the moment. As we're recording this, we're recording this at the end of April. So we in the UK are still on lockdown. I think you are on lockdown as well in the States. So one of the things, Barb, that's quite interesting is what we've been looking at, and you've probably had a similar thing with your own clients, is there's a lot of talk about like how we manage the lockdown and how we manage this situation. And I think that's very relevant. But it's also really interesting for us. What I've been pointing my clients to is looking to what's constant that never changes. And so I was only thinking about this today because as the people who are kind of keeping up with the program at the moment, a lot of them are listening to the course that I did with Aaron about the keys to enjoyment. And it's so cool. I was listening to it today and we recorded it, back in January, probably before any of this happened. And everything he said so speaks to the situation we're in right now because of pointing to the constant. So whether we talk about the lockdown or not today, I think people are going to find that it's relevant no matter what. Whether we are, whether we're not, whether we're more locked down, whether we're less locked down, by the time people listen to this, we have no way of knowing. And I guess that's what will come into some of our conversation today.
Yeah, I look forward to it. And I agree. I love that distinction. I think that's true. When we look at what's constant, it's timeless.
Yeah.
It's timeless.
Yeah. That would be principles then, right? I guess.
Yeah.
So Bob, I know you work primarily with business owners in the work that you do, and you have done that for a long time, and leaders in the work that you do. And I did think about making this a course about the kind of work element, but actually I know creativity is a subject that's very dear to the hearts of people in business, right? Like coming up with creative solutions. But when a lot of people, and I think we'll talk more widely than that when we're talking about creativity today, but I think when a lot of people hear the word creative, the gut reaction is, oh, that doesn't apply to me, then I'm not an artist. Yeah. Right? I'm not a writer or a poet or an artist. I'm like none of those things. So this would not be the thing for me. Creativity not relevant to me. And just because you work with business owners who are kind of like at the opposite end of the scale from a poet sitting and writing beautiful poetry, like just share what you see about, I mean, you must have discussions with people about creativity and have that people come up to you in business and say, but I'm not an artist, I'm not a poet, I'm not a writer. Why is it relevant?
I'm going to start by sharing about a friend of mine, and what you're saying, this fits so perfectly. So we've been friends for over 30 years. So we've, kind of grown up together in many ways in our adult life. And she has always said there's another friend of ours who is an actual artist. And then there's kind of me who's been both an executive inside of the company, but also had my own business at multiple times throughout my life. And she'd always say, I'm not like you and Jen. I don't have that in me. I'm not like you guys. You guys just get these ideas and you go with them, and and Jen is incredibly talented artist, right? But what was fascinating is about 5-6 years ago now, she got a new job opportunity, and it was in an area that she knew nothing about. In fact, it was in an area she's a marketer, and she was going to be running the social media and online digital products for this bank. So it could not be more, kind of traditional, old school, but this is the friend that when you text her, you just never hear back from her. She won't post. She doesn't do social media. And here, all of a sudden, she was put into a role where she is overseeing that whole product line. And we would all laugh. But what was so interesting was to watch her be totally in the unknown, way in over her head. In an area where she had no experience, and in fact had a lot of ideas about, her inability with technology. And I watched her over that first year, like, rise to the occasion over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And after about 6 months to a year, somewhere in between there, she said to me, I get it. I'm creative. I have had to think on my feet. I've had to pull rabbits out of a hat. I've had to learn and contribute and give ideas. And she said, and I see that my work has become an opportunity for me to self-actualize, for me to tap into more of my own potential. She said, I'm discovering parts of me I never knew I had. And her creativity was showing up, as you say, in a very different way, but it was no less creative. It was coming from the same source it all comes from, within. But it also points to, in a very cool way, that constant piece that you were talking about, which is, if you look at what we're saying, like, we're designed to get in over our heads. We're made to rise to the occasion. We're made to find our way. We have this amazing, incredible potential of our minds to offer up new ideas, fresh thinking, problem solving. And that, regardless of who you are, that is a constant.
I think everyone, my goodness, like the circumstance we're in right now, everything you just said about your friend is like all of us over the last 6 weeks, right? It's like we're faced with a situation we thought, I can't handle that. Yeah. Like, if someone had told me a year ago there's going to be a pandemic virus and you won't be able to leave your homes, and there won't be enough food in the supermarkets, and I would have been like, I can't handle, like, what? I can't handle that. That's no thanks, right? Definitely not within my remit. And yet, for all of us, we can see that our lives, like, we have risen to the occasion. I love that expression. It's like more or less elegantly and gracefully, right? Same as your friend, right? No doubt she messed up over and over.
Without a doubt, yes.
Yeah, but we are all managing, like, in a way that we didn't imagine that we would. We've been resourceful. Like, we've all found ways of, I don't know, those of us who are homeschooling, we've all found ways to navigate that. And I bet for none of us has it showed up the way we thought it would. Certainly not in my house, right? And we've learned stuff about our own capability and about our children's capabilities. And we've learned things that we just would never have seen if it weren't for these circumstances. And when when our normal is taken away from us, so it's going into a job that you've never done before, going outside of your comfort zone, but being thrown into a situation like the one that we're in now, you are in over your head, you are in the unknown, like your usual structures and go-tos and safety nets, just your usual way of getting food God, like something you've never really appreciated before, like your usual ways of getting your hands on food, you had to be resourceful and creative and imaginative to deal with that, to keep yourself sane when you're in your four walls all this time, to deal with kids, to deal with relationships, to deal with maybe being completely by yourself, maybe being in a house with a load of people that you're not used to spending a lot of time with. You know, all our circumstances are very different, but the constant is that we've all had to pull rabbits out of hats over and over again over the last 6 weeks. And if you weren't creative, well, it's not possible to not be creative. It's not possible that you could sit frozen in time in the corner just going, I can't do this. Like, there's nobody who sat in that situation for 6 whole weeks. Nobody. And the reason we haven't is because of creativity.
That's right. And I think you're making a really important distinction that I want to just like highlight for a minute. We get sort of sidelined, sidetracked, hijacked by our feelings about it. Like, and they get all the attention. So the feeling of anxiety or worry or feeling like it wasn't good enough, or I don't know what I'm doing, like that gets a lot of our attention. But I love what you're saying, because you're really asking, and we're both talking about, no, look behind your preferences about it, like what you would prefer, or how you think it's going. Like, look beyond that, and you see this, you will absolutely, you can get an eye and an appreciation for how agile we're designed to be agile. That we're being creative in really practical, everyday, ordinary ways that are no less significant than those beautiful pieces of art, or those times when we surprise ourselves in a really cool way. All of those are, when we look and we really appreciate that we have that within, it does so much more for our confidence and certainty than anything else. If we will only do things that we like or that make us feel a certain way, our world gets really small. And yet what we've all been forced to over these last 6 to 8 weeks is, get out of our comfort zone in one way or another. Like for some people, I hear a lot of introverts saying, I'm digging this time, right? But even those people who don't mind the stay at home are having to renegotiate and realign and adjust and adapt, get creative in some way. And I love those stories. My sister Kim is a teacher, and I have so much respect that for the majority of the teachers, all of a sudden they had to learn how to do curriculum from a distance. They had to learn Zoom, right? You and I who live on it, my sister's like calling me saying, what do I do? And then just show you, because I think it's fun. She teaches first grade, and a lot of the kids are missing her, right? And so she'll FaceTime with the parents and everything. But there's that book, Flat Stanley. Have you heard
Yes.
it? Yeah, right. So my sister Kim created Flat Kim. So she
is definitely an artist, definitely.
No, right, yeah. But I thought it was so hysterical that I decided, like, Flat Kim has done yoga with me, and I send her a picture, like I crack myself up. But that's not the point of this. But what's been so cute is even her little first graders, her 6-year-olds are sending her the cutest little videos. Something that never would have been in the realm of possibility prior to this. Yeah. But we do, we like we find our way, like, how can I connect? How can I teach? How can I, whether you're with your family, how can you keep sane amongst a crowd, or you're by yourself like me, and it's like, how can I get connection without human contact? And again, really ordinary every day, but they can go totally underappreciated unless we take time to say, oh yeah, we're doing that all the time.
Because what if we really saw that whatever the occasion, we could rise to it? That would be like at a principle level. Because I know that there are, and I'm thinking of clients that come to mind I know where, for example, I've been like, I don't want to. I remember talking to Dickin once about, I really want to take my kids away camping in a camper van, but I can't, because what if I get to the campsite and then they're all arguing, or what if they're arguing in the back of the van and I won't know what to do, and we'll get there and no one will be having a good time, and then we'll just have to come home and it'll be a waste of money, and what will I do if I don't know, get stressed out while I was there, and like, but what if we could see that, and I've seen this before, but like, you know, we see the same things on so many levels, that like, we can always take care of it then. And I still have areas in my life where that looks true, and areas where I doubt it. But it's like, it seems to me that as we're in this, as we're in this conversation and we just keep exploring, I remember someone saying to me once, there's like a critical mass of evidence. So we start to see that, oh God, I can cope with a global pandemic. I never thought that was within my realm of capability, right? Or I can, every time the kids have fought in the back of the car, so I'm still here. Somehow I figured it out. Right? And over time, as we start to see that we come up against, because life is a contact sport, we're going to have ample opportunity to see this one. The things that we think we couldn't possibly cope with. Like, I know some of my clients who are like, I cannot leave my town, because if I leave my town, I just can't. It's outside my comfort zone. It's too scary, which is an example of putting the fear before the appreciation of the creative nature of the mind, right? And so understandable. But like, what if we could see this to the degree that you'd get in the car and leave your town anyway? Because whatever would happen, like, you don't have to wait for the fear to go. Like, you might be scared, you might be really scared. But how cool to realize and see for yourself that even though scared, there's still a knowing of what to do, even if it's turn tail and come straight back home, right?
Well, and I also think, you know, my niece is getting ready to go off to college, to university, and my sister asked me to talk to her because she was not talking to her mom, right? But she'd been kind of quiet and worried about her. And so my sister thought, oh, she's struggling with her decision, because she just happened to be picking between her dad's alma mater or her mom's alma mater. So my sister was like, I think, you know, she's struggling, wanting to please both of us. Well, I got on the phone with her, and it wasn't that at all. She was actually really clear about what she wanted. But what was happening was she was starting to experience anxiety about the move, and about being away from family, and about, you know, having to walk on campus and not know where she was going. And, you know, like, just all those things that were coming up. And, you know, the thing that was most helpful to her, Nick, is what you're saying. When I said to her, do you know that your anxiety isn't predicting the future? It's not actually telling you how it's going to go. It's just pointing to some anxious thinking in this moment. You know, and as you're saying, it's like, when we see anxiety and that stirred upness or worry, whatever that is, for what it is, a reflection of our internal state at that time. It's not telling us anything about the next moment or the next moment or the event. I think, again, that points to what you're saying. Then we just get more willing to feel the fear and do it anyway. You know, it's kind of like public speaking. I can get really nervous before I have to do it, but I no longer think that's telling me anything about how it's going to go, how I'm going to do. I know at some point my nerves will become background noise and I'll be more engaged in the moment.
Yeah, it's like, in a way, it feels like there's things that we're drawn to do, but in on top of that, and trumps it, comes the way that we feel about it in this moment, because it feels like the way I feel about it in this moment is the way I'm going to feel about it when I actually do the whatever it is that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And And I guess what we're pointing to is that the more we look in the direction of like how powerful this thing is that has our back, that as we get eyes for it and we see it more and more and more and more, this starts to happen. And we know that we're going to feel all sorts of emotion, but the reliance on the creative, whatever it is that allows us to allows us to rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
We all know what that means. Kind of starts to trump this.
Absolutely.
So then we're free to do, like I remember Linda Pransky saying this once, and it was the most mind-blowing thing that she said, was like, she said, I don't really care much what experience I'm having. And I was like, what? Like, if I didn't care what experience I was, oh my God, I travel the world, I'd go and I'd do this, and I'd go and live there, and I'd go and do this job, and I'd go for that promotion, and it was just like, if I like literally imagine a world where you didn't care what experience you were having, what you'd get up to. And it just lit me up. I never considered that possibility. And that, I guess, is what happens when we start to get an appreciation to knowing that we can rise to any occasion.
Yeah, I remember the first time I did a 3 principles workshop. It was 3 days, and it was with a group of 60 teachers and admin staff. And I remember in the middle of it, I got really self-conscious. Like I started having thoughts like, is this going well? What's going on? Do they like it? They look confused. I don't know where to go. Like all this is going on. So of course, as that's going on, the more self-conscious I get, the more sped up my heart rate, but because I was in front of the room talking, I had to just keep talking. I mean, I guess I could have went running out of the room, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Now, what happened was eventually that those nerves, self-consciousness went away, faded away, and I kind of found my way again. But what was most interesting to me later that day, it wasn't that, oh man, I found my way and I was brilliant, right? What I saw was, wow, even at my worst, I had ideas of things to say.
Yeah.
Even at my most insecure moment, things were occurring to me to say.
I love it that you brought that up, because the yeah, but that we'll get from people listening to this is, yeah, but where was my wisdom? Mine doesn't kick in and I have a panic attack. Like mine doesn't kick in. And so like, I didn't know what to do. And I ended up having a panic attack. And I'm like, yeah. And then what did you do? Well, then I knew to call my friend. Oh, okay. That right there, then that would be it. It's like, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have all sorts of human experiences,
right.
But like what you knew to do in that moment was sit down or cry or breathe really fast or reach out someone's hand or sit on the floor or hide in the corner or leave the room, or like, that's wisdom. That's this creative force moving through us. Well, and almost like to backpedal, when I was thinking about like this, doing this call and thinking about, creativity, and I was just reminded of the absolute basics, that we're all creative because we all live in a world of thought, and thought is the ultimate creator of experience. So a panic attack is a creation of thought. It's one of many varieties of creation of thought.
Yeah.
And the knowing what to do in response to any circumstance, like that indefinable whatever it is that allows us to rise to the occasion, allows us to, and you might not call like crying in the corner and then running out of a room rising to an occasion, but this, like, to me, like, that is wisdom in action, doing exactly what was required in that moment.
I agree. Listen, I think if you really sincerely look at what we're saying, you will see evidence in hundreds of ways throughout your life when you have risen to the occasion. Everything from Sometimes it's getting out of bed in the morning. Sometimes it's showing up for a friend or family member that has just experienced immense tragedy or loss. Sometimes it's going on a first date and you feel awkward. Sometimes meeting new friends, or I always say the first day of a new job is like the first day at school. You wonder who you're going to have lunch with, and you know what I mean? Like all of those are really, or the first time you try a new recipe, the first time you sign up for something and you go somewhere where you don't know anybody. I mean, all of that are really simple, ordinary, but when you look, pretty amazing to see evidence over and over and over and over throughout our lives when we rise to the occasion. Again, we just get hijacked because of our feelings about it. You know, take that away because we understand where they come from, what that is, and just appreciate, like, oh yeah, okay, I did that. You know, we're just evaluating how we did, so we miss the amazing fact that we did it.
Even like, you remind me of things like, even, you know, the fact that when you were 5 you went to school.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's a terrifying concept, right? But you did that, and that you got over your first heartbreak.
Yeah.
You thought the world was going to end and you would never come out of it, and you did.
Yeah.
You know, when you lose a pet or you lose a relative, or like yes, we all have, like, I can't imagine what not rising to the occasion could look like. Like, we're all here now.
Yeah.
Right in this moment,
exactly.
we're all here now. And so somehow we were navigated through it.
Yeah.
More or less gracefully. And like you say, you can have judgment about how gracefully that happened.
Yeah.
Often not very.
Yeah.
Really,
Exactly.
but if you don't have an expectation that life should always be graceful,
Yeah, that's right.
then you're free to mess it up as many times as you do.
Yeah.
But to have the idea that you've messed it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I realized a couple of years ago that there was a way that hard stopped me in my tracks. You know, like I didn't well, that's too hard. I'm not doing that. And you know where I saw it, which was kind of hysterical, was around exercise. Because I'm like, isn't that the point? You know, of course it's hard. You're out of shape and you're building muscle. Like, you know, but I would notice, be like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. That's too hard. And sort of, but I started to see, I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I mean. Like to keep ourselves in this kind of narrow window of the feelings will allow.
Yeah.
Makes our world so small. But if you see what we're saying, like you're built to rise to the occasion, you have it within you to find your way. We are evolution, you know, like we evolve, we grow. That's a part of this system. That creative potential of our minds helps us find our way, helps us figure things out, helps us connect. You start to realize, like, oh, I can put my certainty there, my confidence there. I don't have to put it in that I'll feel amazing, or that, you know, I won't struggle, or, you know, and that's it. It's like really seeing, I saw how small I was making my world in many ways, because I didn't want to have a certain kind of feeling, or I didn't appreciate that feeling awkward and feeling self-conscious isn't saying anything about my ability to rise to the occasion.
Yeah. Yeah, and as you're talking, I'm thinking of my common but my habitual but, which is like I fear going in a cable car on a ski lift, right? Like the feeling that I imagine comes with that, of the falling and the vertigo and the being high and being exposed, like all of it, just gives me the cold sweats even thinking about it. And that makes me say no. If anyone said, would you want to go on one right now, I'd say no, I'm not going on one. There's no way you can make me go on one. But what I also know, which makes me curious, and is that I'm willing to consider the fact that the way I feel about it when it's brought to mind in this moment, I could be wrong. And I'm willing to consider that I could go on a cable car and really enjoy it. Like, all I can know is what I'm feeling in this moment now. And the feeling is so strong, it would make me say no. And I'd have a rational explanation for why. Like, oh, no, I don't need to go. Like, I can do plenty of things. I don't need to put cable cars on my list. But there's something in this understanding that when we have the humility, I guess it is, to say, it really looks that way, and it so looks that way, because the interplay of mind, thought, and consciousness means that looks really true to it. It looks like I live in a world where cable cars are the most terrifying thing ever. Like, I know I must be wrong, because there's lots of people I can see smiling on them, right? Or just using them as a mode of transport. They're not even thinking about whether they enjoy it or not. But that willingness to know that we might be wrong, like, opens the door of possibility that one day someone might ask us and we might just say yes.
Yeah, I think that's so profound, because when we realize nothing is fixed, including our experiences and our possibility and potential. So that means that just because it's been, terrifying 100 times before isn't a guarantee that it will always be scary. Like, nothing is fixed. And so that potential to have a different experience of ourselves, or a cable car, or a date, or a new job is there. Yeah. It's there for the taking. And that, you're right, when you realize, like, oh yeah, it looks scary. And if I look at my past, I can have evidence about that. But because of this understanding, we know without a doubt the potential is there to have a different kind of experience. Now, whether we do or not doesn't really matter, but the potential is there.